Hi guys, I want to give you a couple tips on making a box for a lithophane. One of the key components will be the size of your lithophane, and then we'll develop the box around those dimensions. So I'm going to use Cura to find the dimensioning because when I bring in that lithophane, I'm not going to slice it right now. I'm just using Cura so that I can get the dimensions of the lithophane. So once it's in here, if I select it and go to scale, I'm going to record 87.4, 127, and 3. Okay, and we'll use those dimensions not only to make a cut in the box, but also to figure out how big the box should be, because you're going to want the box to be, you know, larger by probably 1 centimeter in each direction. So I will now go over to, I'm actually going to go here to draw some stuff out. So if this is our lithophane, and we have 87.4, and we have 127 this way. There's a few things about your box. Let me go to a different color. Number one, you really want to have a good inch in the depth. Okay, we don't care about the 3 millimeters right now, although you are going to care when you cut in a segment where the lithophane will slide in. But you're going to want at least an inch going in the back. So how much space do you want dimensionally around it? Do you want a centimeter more on each side? Do you want a half a centimeter on each side? I would say, and so I shouldn't call this inches because we're using millimeters. So instead of 1 inch, call this 254 millimeters. Okay, so you want at least 254 millimeters in depth. Is that right? 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Oh, actually 25.4. Whoops. Okay, so you want at least 25.4 millimeters. That's the same thing as 2.54 centimeters, which is the same as an inch. Okay, so as far as across the top here, I would say if you want a centimeter on each side, then so it's 87.4, and you're probably going to have plus 10 millimeters this way and plus 10 millimeters this way. So you're really looking at a dimension of 120, 100, 107, 87 plus 20 is 107. So you're really looking at 107.4 for the size of the box. And then for the height, I would do the same thing. I would have 10 millimeters extra on this side and 10 millimeters extra on this side. So you're looking at 147. Now, if you wanted to round up, that would be fine too. So you could call this 110. So the width of our box is going to be 110, and the height of our box is going to be 150. And then I might even say that the depth of the box is going to be 30. So you can round them up to all those. So now when I go back to Fusion, my initial dimensions are actually going to be 110 by 30. So if we go there, I'm actually going to do it all by sketching. So I'll click here. I'll create a rectangle, and it's going to be 30. That's going to be my depth. This is 110. And then when I extrude it, we're going to go, I already forget, 150. So I can type in 150. So that's probably going to fit our lithophane pretty good. Again, if you decide, you know, maybe I want more depth, you're probably a little bit better with more depth. And I know this because if the light source is too close to the picture, it doesn't light it uniformly. So let's go ahead and pull out this back more. I'm adding 2 centimeters or 20 millimeters. And so that's actually, whoops. So I just added 20 millimeters to the depth. So now I got it at 50. Okay. So the next thing I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna call it Lithobox. And so here's the deal. You're gonna want to cut a rectangle down through the front that is a little bit more than the size of the lithophane. So if we go back here, this is where, we'd be tempted to type 80. So let me show you what I'm doing. So if I start a rectangle on the top here, let's go to new sketch on this face. If I start a rectangle, it would be tempting to put 87.4. And whoops, that was the wrong way. This one's 87.4. And 3. So that's going to be a cutout. The problem is you don't want your cutout to be the exact same size as your lithophane because things don't print perfectly. They usually print a little bigger. So you want to add at least 2 millimeters, 2 or 3 millimeters. Actually, I would say 2 to 4 millimeters. So 3 was my original. I'm going to type in 6. And 87.4, I added 3 to that. Oh, stop it. I'm going to change this to 91. So I'm actually going to add 3.6. So the size of that rectangle, and now it's misplaced a little. Hopefully I can move it. Yeah. I want to move it more than -5. Let's move it -8. Okay, so there is a thing that should fit my lithophane because I've left it 3 millimeters of wiggle room. So now if I finish sketch, I'm going to go back to the home perspective. If I push this all the way down, so I'm going to go to extrude and I'm going to push it down. You want to make sure you don't push it down all the way because you don't want it to go all the way through the bottom. So it's snapping at 140, which leaves me a centimeter on the bottom, but I think I want it a little further. So I'm going to go 145 and I'm going to click OK. And so now I have a slot for my lithophane to slide down into, okay? But I obviously also want to slot this way so I can see my lithophane. And so if I go to my front face and I add a new sketch and I click my front face, so this part is where we want to keep the 127 and the 87.4 in mind. Just to make sure it's not bigger than that. So the rectangle I make here can't be bigger than 87.4 at 127. So I accidentally clicked, so I'm going to redo that. So if I start this, I don't want this bigger than 87. Actually, I need it smaller than 87.4, and I think I even had borders on mine. So like I might want to make this dimension 85. And I might want to make the other dimension, 127 was my regular one. I'm going to call that 124. And I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to double click the edge and I'm going to move it a little bit because it's not in the center. So let's move this way. It's snapping poorly again. So let's see. Instead of -10, I'm going to try -7. See what that looks like. That's wrong. Oh, maybe I only want -3. -2 might be right. Okay, that looks centered. And it looks centered up and down too. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to finish sketch. I'm going to go back here. Now I want to push this in. So when I push this in, you don't want to, you could poke it all the way through if you wanted to. I haven't in the past. It would work, but if you contain the light, it works a little better. So if I come back this way, I'm going to set this to -45 too. And so now you can see I have a box that I can slip my lithophane in. I can put lights in here. You might even want a little hole in the back for the power of your light source to come out. So if I do one more rectangle in the back here, like that, it'll allow me to have the power source come out. Let me make that big enough. I want to make it a little taller. So I'm going to undo, come back here. Let's, a centimeter tall is probably enough. Let me go to the other one. I'll call that 25. I'd rather have it in the middle, so I'm going to double, whoops. I'm going to double click it again, move it, and push it in. So finish sketch, do this. That one you do want to push through to have a hole. So that's a good way to make a box. Good luck with that.